Alexia Putellas was supposed to be enjoying a break. Instead, she was spotted in the stands watching Spain's men's national team take on Austria at the World Cup. No Barcelona shirt, no captain's armband, no cameras following her onto the pitch. Just Alexia, sitting among the crowd, quietly supporting her country while the football world keeps asking one very big question: what happens next? And Alexia was not the only famous face in the stadium that night. Hollywood power couple Penélope Cruz and Javier Bardem were also there, cheering for Spain as the team secured a convincing 3-0 victory over Austria. Rosalía was also in the crowd that night, adding even more star power to Spain's World Cup match against Austria. The Spanish singer was seen alongside Alexia Putellas and Penélope Cruz at SoFi Stadium, and the three were photographed together while supporting La Roja. It was a striking moment. One of Spain's biggest music stars, one of its most celebrated actresses, and one of the greatest footballers in women's football all sharing the same night in the stands. For fans online, that photo quickly became one of the most talked about images from Spain's 3-0 win. With actors, football icons, and fans all gathered in the same stadium, it became one of those World Cup nights that felt bigger than just a match. But while many people were talking about Spain's performance and the celebrity, guests in the stands, women's football fans noticed something else. They noticed Alexia Putellas. Because seeing Alexia in the crowd was not just another celebrity appearance at a World Cup match. It came at a moment when one of the greatest players in women's football is standing at one of the biggest crossroads of her entire career. After 14 years at Barcelona, one of the most important players in the history of the women's game has officially closed a chapter that once felt impossible to end. Alexia did not simply play for Barcelona. She became Barcelona. She became the face of a generation, the captain of an era, and the player who helped turn Barça Femení into one of the most feared teams in world football. And now, with her Barcelona story over, reports linking her with a move to London City Lionesses are creating a conversation that nobody expected to be having a few years ago. Could Alexia Putellas really leave Spain for England? Could one of the greatest players in the history of the women's game choose London City Lionesses for the next chapter of her career? And if she does, could it become one of the most important transfers women's football has ever seen? Because this is about much more than one player changing clubs. It is about legacy. It is about ambition. It is about the power shift happening across women's football. And it might be about a superstar choosing a completely different kind of challenge. Let's start with that image from the World Cup. Spain were playing Austria in California, in a match that ended with a dominant 3-0 victory for La Roja. Mikel Oyarzabal scored twice, Pedro Porro added another, and Spain moved into the next round looking every bit like a serious contender. The stadium was full, the crowd was loud, and cameras caught several famous faces in attendance. Penélope Cruz and Javier Bardem were among them, bringing a little bit of Hollywood attention to Spain's World Cup night. But for women's football fans, one name stood out immediately: Alexia Putellas. The sight of Alexia in the stands felt almost symbolic. For so long, she has been the one on the field, the one controlling matches, the one carrying expectations, the one lifting trophies, the one walking out as captain with Barcelona and Spain, leading a generation that changed the way the world sees women's football. But now she is in a different moment. For the first time in more than a decade, Alexia Putellas is not preparing for another Barcelona season. That alone is hard to process. Alexia joined Barcelona in 2012 when she was only 18 years old. At that point, Barça Femení was growing, but it was not yet the global powerhouse that it would become. There was no certainty that women's football would explode the way it has. There was no guarantee that Barcelona's women would one day play in front of packed Camp Nou crowds, win multiple Champions Leagues, or become one of the most recognizable teams in the sport. Alexia helped build that future. She became the club's all-time leading scorer. She made more than 500 appearances. She collected league titles, domestic cups, European trophies, individual awards, and 2 Ballon d'Or titles. But numbers do not fully explain her importance. Alexia was a symbol of what Barcelona became. When people think about Barça Femení's rise, they think about the passing, football, the technical quality, the unforgettable Champions League nights, the record crowds, and the emotional connection between the team and its supporters. Alexia was at the center of all of that. She represented elegance on the ball, intelligence in midfield, and a kind of leadership that did not always need to be loud to be powerful. Even through injury, she remained one of the defining figures of the team. When she suffered her ACL injury before the 2022 Euros, it was one of the most painful moments of her career. She missed a huge period of football, and for a while, it looked like the game might move on without her. But Alexia came back, and that return mattered. It showed that her story was not just about winning when everything was perfect. It was also about resilience, about recovery, about carrying the weight of expectations and still finding a way to remain relevant in a rapidly changing game. Now, though, the story has changed again. Barcelona confirmed that Alexia would leave when her contract ended, bringing an extraordinary 14-year relationship to a close. Her farewell was emotional because it was impossible for it not to be. This was not a normal goodbye between a player and a club. This was the end of an era. And the question now is not whether Alexia still has something to offer. Of course she does. The question is where she wants to make her next impact. That is where London City Lionesses enter the conversation. The club has been strongly linked with Alexia, and reports have suggested that London City could be her next destination. It is a move that would surprise many casual fans, because when a player of Alexia's level becomes available, the obvious guesses are usually the biggest traditional names: Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City, maybe the NWSL, maybe another major European giant. But London City Lionesses are not trying to be just another club. In the women's game, they are building something very different. The club is owned by Michelle Kung, an investor who has made no secret of her ambition in women's football. Kung's wider football network includes Washington Spirit in the United States and OL Lyons in France, and the vision is not small. The goal is to create elite infrastructure, better opportunities, stronger investment, and a global network built specifically around women's football. That matters. For years, women's teams were often treated as an extension of men's clubs. They were underfunded, underpromoted, and expected to survive, with fewer resources, less visibility, and less long-term planning. But projects like London City Lionesses are trying to challenge that model. The message is simple. Women's football does not need to sit in the shadow of men's football to become powerful. And a player like Alexia Putellas joining that project would send a huge message. It would say that a footballer with every possible option is willing to choose a club not only for its current status, but for its future potential. It would say that the next big story in women's football may not always happen at the clubs everyone already knows. And it would make London City Lionesses impossible to ignore. Think about the impact. Alexia is not just a midfielder. She is a global name. She is one of the few women's football players whose image reaches far beyond one league, one country, or one fan base. Her arrival would bring attention from Spain, from Barcelona fans, from football media, from sponsors, and from people who may not even follow the Women's Super League closely right now. Every London City match would suddenly become an event. Every away game would have more cameras. Every interview would be watched. Every young player in the squad would be sharing a dressing room with someone who has won the Ballon d'Or twice, lifted the Champions League, captained Barcelona, and helped Spain become world champions. That kind of influence cannot be measured only in goals or assists. But there is also a risk. Leaving Barcelona means leaving familiarity. It means stepping away from a club where Alexia knows the language, the culture, the pressure, the supporters, and the expectations better than almost anyone. It means moving into a new league, a new environment, and a new project where the spotlight will be intense from day one. It is physical, it is fast, it is increasingly competitive. The gap between clubs is changing, but the top teams are still packed with world-class players. Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United, and Manchester City all understand what it takes to compete at the highest level. New projects can grow quickly, but they still have to earn respect on the pitch. And Alexia would not be joining London City Lionesses to simply enjoy a quieter final chapter. She would be joining to lead. That is why this potential move is so fascinating. At Barcelona, Alexia was part of a machine built to win everything. She was surrounded by world-class teammates, a dominant system, and a club that expected trophies every season. At London City, she could become something else. She could become the player who helped create a new era. There is a difference between joining a giant and helping build one. And perhaps that is exactly what makes this move feel believable. Alexia has already done almost everything at Barcelona. She has the trophies, she has the records, she has the love of the fans. She She has a place in the club's history that nobody can take away. Maybe her next challenge is not about proving she can win. Maybe it is about proving she can transform. Could she help turn London City Lionesses into a genuine power in England? Could she help attract more elite players? Could she help raise the standards of a club trying to become one of the biggest names in women's football? Those are the questions fans are beginning to ask. And while the official confirmation of her next club is still the key moment everyone is waiting for, one thing is already clear. Alexia Putellas is entering a new phase of her career. The Barcelona chapter is over, but the Alexia story is far from finished. Seeing her in the stands during Spain's World Cup win almost felt like a pause between two scenes. A quiet moment before the next announcement. A reminder that even when she is not playing, Alexia remains one of the biggest names in football. She does not need to be on the field to make people talk. And now the football world is watching closely. Will London City Lionesses become her next home? Will England be the stage for her next great challenge? Or is there still another twist waiting before Alexia makes her final decision public? Whatever happens, this is not just a transfer story. It is the story of a player leaving the club that made her a legend at a time when women's football is becoming more global, more ambitious, and more unpredictable than ever before. Alexia Putellas gave Barcelona 14 unforgettable years. Now she may be about to give the rest of women's football something new to talk about. So what do you think? Would joining London City Lionesses be the boldest move of Alexia Putellas' career? Or would leaving Barcelona be too big of a gamble for one of the greatest players the game has ever seen? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more updates on Alexia's next move, major transfers, and everything happening in women's football, make sure to subscribe.